Time to answer the question of Schrodinger's dad. Is the dad alive? Is the dad dead? And a resounding choice. I say resounding. It's two-thirds to one-third-ish. A 28% difference, which, remember things correctly, we do 28% of my chip total to bet. That's the amount I'm putting towards this. Pretty sure I'm remembering that concept right that we're going for here, but, alright. The jury says we open the box, the dad's alive. Cool. I have no opinions on this bet because it's kind of sort of just random. Wait, does that make it a bad bet? Bet? No, no way. No. Yeah, this is a good bet. Now put down some chips. We have 52 chips, and we have a 28% bet. That math works out to... Wow, I'm throwing down 15 chips on this. It's 14.5, but I'm rounding up. Cool. Good bet. Good talk. This was good. Alrighty. Since we're back, and we're at the end of our second round of stories, going back into Laverna's story. Rabbit Hunt. There may not be rest for the wicked, but there isn't a lot for the detective either. Once again, I was contacted by the police to help with one of their cases. So then, a bit late, I made my way directly to the scene of the supposed crime, Nohoi's nest. Oh. Arriving there, the place was abuzz. Alright, now we're linking up with Locke's story. I led myself into the central restaurant and saw a number of unscrupulous-looking characters being interviewed by a familiar face. Oh, hey, Laverna. Pandora. Lovely meeting you. I assume you are taking some witness statements. Yeah, I'm just sort of getting to know these guys. Getting to know them in regards to the crime, correct? I'm getting there. I have a process. Ah, I understand. I would never judge another person's process. We each must walk our own road. Yeah, you get it. Anyways, I assume you're here to help with the murder case. Why, naturally. Gotcha. Then you're probably going to want to go downstairs. See, over there? Pandora pointed over to the closet that held the staircase down to the underground casino. Yeah, there's a staircase there. Most of the others are down there. And why aren't you with them? Did they keep you out? Because if so, that's not acceptable. Oh no, I was the one who wanted to stay up here. It's shady down there. In an underground illegal casino run by a gang? How scary. And, you're a police officer. Obviously. Right, just checking again. Alright, well, I'll go and get a move on. Good luck. Thanks. With Pandora's well wishes, I walked over to the closet and made my way down to the true Nohoi's nest. This is where the real action was. This place was unusually fully lit up, and all throughout the central room were sparse tables in an open area. Could really feel the blank space. I didn't get far, however, before running into a familiar face. An actual face this time. Hi, Valdera. Lav! Valdera rushed over to me and gave me a hug. Then she recoiled a little bit. Whoa, Lav. Valdera, nice to see you. Ah, Laverna. I shouldn't be surprised. Lav, what's with that smell? What smell? Your smell, it's all floral and junk. Oh, you must be referring to my perfume. My sister told me I should try and be a bit more feminine. So this is what I ended up doing. Lipstick. Seth leaned in and took a sniff before also making a face. Little strong, eh? Perfume is meant to be a pleasant smell, yes? Ergo, more perfume means more pleasant smell. After a while, there's a place of diminishing returns. I think, with stuff like that. Standard logic. You and I really need to hang out sometime, Lav. I'll take care of you properly. Anyway, speaking of your sister, we ended up going to speak with her. Oh, apologies. Oh, she wasn't that bad, Lav. Though I have to say, when I looked around the room she was staying at, I noticed a few things that made me think that it wasn't really her apartment. That she just temporarily rented the room. God, is she still on that paranoid conspiracy crap? She is so embarrassing. Anyway, she's not an active suspect. That gives you some comfort. I suppose. Let us move on to the case at hand, should we not? I figure. There, I decided to bring you in for this too. Incorrect, Mr. Johnson. Oh, hey, Chief. Unbeknownst to Seth, Arianne had walked over to join the group. As a matter of fact, I decided to hire Laverna's services. Yeah, is that right? That's something of a change of pace, huh? She has proven useful so far. I wish to see her in action some more. I'm sure she'll impress. I do nothing but. However, to get to that, I must first learn of the actual crime. Details, if you would. Not exactly a polite way of requesting. Yeah, get used to that. Anyways, I guess I'll just get to it. Don't want to waste time. Yeah, okay, maybe you could be more polite, but I mean, you brought me in here to do a job. Now let's get to it, shall we? Give me the details so I can do the job. To start, we received a call to 911. Voice seemed deliberately muffled. At the very least, we could tell the witness was male. No need to beat around the bush, I'll just read out the transcript for you. Seth then ruffled it through his pocket and took out a few folded sheets of paper. He then cleared his throat and began to read. Hello. Right now I'm calling from Nohoi's nest. I'm sitting above ground at one of the wooden tables. No, I just witnessed a murder. Then the operator asked for him to explain more, so he keeps going. The first thing you need to know is that Nohoi's nest has an underground gambling operation, a big casino. It's down there, gambling. I know that's illegal, but I just went there to relieve stress. I'm a criminal, if I see someone die, I'm going to report it. But this one guy, he claimed to be a big shot at Limpo. Talking, and before long we decided to start a one-on-one poker gamble in a private room. That's a thing you can do. So go over there, play a few rounds. The gambling is going well. It's an even match. Eventually I get thirsty. Ask if I can go get a drink at the bar. My opponent agrees. I exit the room. To come across as shifty because my opponent made sure to hide their cards as I passed by. Walk directly across the open area to the bar, run by this guy named Osa. Order a drink from Osa, sit down, relax a bit. Notice a decorative knife that Osa has hung up behind the bar. It's nice looking. Talk with Osa, he gives me some poker advice. Feeling more confident, I decide to go back to the game. I stand up, walk across the room, and open the door to the private room. Standing right in that doorway, I feel my legs begin to freeze up. Water's plummeting. My opponent, the Olympo big shot, he's still in his chair. Problem is, he's been stabbed several times in the gut. I don't even need to get any closer to know he's dead. Panic, I turn around, walk away, try to catch my breath. Freaking out. I said I'm not a criminal or anything. I've seen a dead body before. And walking towards the exit stairs, I see this one guy. He's got thick black hair, leather jacket, kind of short. He was slouching. Didn't get a great look at him. I saw him gripping something by his side. It's a decorative knife, flecks of blood on it. Ran after him up the stairs. Once I got back up to the actual restaurant on Nohoi's nest, I couldn't see him anywhere. I asked the receptionist if he saw anyone leave in the last minute or two, but they claimed they didn't. So yeah, now I'm sitting here reporting everything to you. Didn't know the guy who got stabbed very well, but you know it's my civic duty to report major crimes like this, so I am. Boy. Then they hung up. Ah, thank you for that dramatic retelling, Seth. A lot of details in there for a simple murder report. Or I mean, an excessive amount of details. Shocking amount of details. Couldn't he have done his job by just saying that Nohoi's nest was a front and a murder happened? Oh well, made my job easier. Getting that report, we made our way over to Nohoi's nest immediately. We had long suspected an underground casino was there. What's more, we had evidence to suggest that it was a do-out operation. Unfortunately, there was no hard evidence of this, and the illegal gambling is a pretty light offense, so getting a warrant to search the place was more effort than it was worth. Of course, a first-hand account of a murder taking place in that casino changes things an awful lot. We got down here and raided the building ASAP. Unfortunately, it looks like somehow the do-outs got wise to the fact that the police were coming. I wonder how they could have possibly done that. Wonder who could have possibly known and tipped them off, so to speak. I mean, once a dead body was found, they probably had to assume someone would call us, and we'd come snooping. The result of this is that when we got here, most of the evidence of this being a casino was disposed of, and everyone but the staff were gone. That includes the witness. And the dead body. Huh? Yeah, we've got no lead on the witness right now. Barely a description. Hopefully he'll show up directly to the station soon enough, but if not... The fear is that he'll be concerned by the fact that he was at an underground casino and subsequently refused to testify, afraid that we'd focus on the illegal gambling. The dead body's the bigger problem. Looked all over and can't find hide nor hair of him. No bloodstains or anything either, but I've got forensic search of the place right now. If things stay the way they are, it's going to be real difficult to solve much of anything. Well, I'll give you this. It's certainly an interesting case. How bizarre. Bizarre enough to be worth my time, that is. I expected as much. That is another reason why I decided to call you to the scene. The situation seems somewhat up your alley. Damn right this is up my alley. Okay, now I'm fired up. There's a bunch we need to do. First up, crime scene. Alleged or not, I wish to inspect it. Sure thing. Judging by the testimony from the call, we can more or less trace it back to a specific private room. That one. Baldera pointed the room out to me and I was off. I walked right over and entered the scene. It was being inspected quite thoroughly by a number of officers wearing masks and gloves. Forensics team. Got it. They stayed mindful of their work and looked around from a distance. Wasn't much to observe. Directly facing the doorway was the chair on the furthest side of the table. The closer one was facing opposite that. There wasn't any blood around. I stepped out of the room. Well, that was pointless. Made that judgment call fast, huh? So far, I am unimpressed. We're not incompetent, Lav. If there were any clues, we'd have found them by now. Is that right? Yeah. At any rate, viewing the scene with my own eyes gave me perspective. That was its true point. So that it wasn't pointless. Next up, we need to interview the witnesses. You heard one specific name in the story given to us, Osa. We're right to presume this Osa fellow is currently under our care. Under our care might be overselling it, but yeah, we've got him if you want to try interviewing him. Might be a bit tricky, though. All the more enticing, dear Baldera. Let's go give the big man an old tongue-mashing. And just like that, we walked over to the bar. Standing behind it was an incredibly bored-looking gangster. Osa. So how to tackle this? I thought for a second before settling on an approach. Confidently, I walked right up to the bar and began to lean on it. Ah, Osa. Isn't this quite the quaint coincidence, meeting each other in a place like this? World is just so crazy. Osa looked me over with discerning eyes. Do I know you? No, but you will. Laverna Smith, pleasure to be at your service. I held my hand out for a handshake. He ignored me. After a few seconds of it not being reciprocated, I retracted it and continued in stride. So you are the owner of this lovely little establishment? No comment. I'm impressed. I really dig the ambiance down here. I mean, you could do for a more subdued lighting pattern, but all in all, I'll give this place top marks. Osa turned over to Chief Arianne, who was standing beside me. Do I have to talk to her? Yes. Why are you so hostile toward me, Osa? It's not you. It's the whole lot of you. I've got nothing to say to any of you regarding any of this. Baldera stepped up, eager to get involved. Baldera, no. Let me guess, because you didn't want to get your little underground casino scheme busted, right? Underground casino scheme? Whatever do you mean? This whole underground area. This place isn't in use. You have a little bar table set up here. Not currently in use. Ignore the drink that I'm currently pouring. I was having it renovated to be an expansion of the restaurant. A slow process, to be sure. This underground place is hidden behind a secret compartment in one of your storage closets? Hey, when I purchased the property, it already had that compartment. Will we find evidence of that? I don't know. Maybe. Since it was a secret compartment, maybe they hid it in the original blueprints. We found tons of gambling equipment and paraphernalia hastily shoved into one of your private rooms. Oh, all that? I'm a gambling hobbyist. That's my collection. I like collecting defunct items from casinos all over the country. My own place was getting too cramped, so I moved it over here. Apologies for that. Good covers. I'll give them that. Someone called the police and gave testimony that this place was actually an underground casino. We looked where they told us to when we found all this. Some random person must have decided to have a lab. The witness was able to identify this underground area. Huh. Good point. Must be a prank by one of the renovators. Maybe they don't like the pay. A prank that just so happens to coincide with all the casino equipment we found stuffed down here? They probably saw that I was storing my casino equipment here and thought to incorporate that into the lie. That's... Baldera just stopped. Huh. In frustration, Baldera threw her hands up and walked away. She was having trouble handling Osa. I hate to say it, guys, but it's going to be near impossible to actually get any sort of indictment to stick with just this. I mean, unless we can get a bunch of witness testimony. Which I doubt we'll be able to. Well, there you go. I slammed my fist onto the bar. Who cares? Huh? Osa, I don't give two shits about whatever unscrupulous activities you have performed beneath this ceiling. For my part, I believe leaving my fate into the hands of the gods recreationally, in moderation, is a wonderful experience. I do not begrudge the casino racket in the slightest. What I begrudge is murder. The ending of a life. That, and that alone, is my purpose here tonight. To discover the truth of such a heinous act. If you truly wish to obscure a crime most foul when it has occurred on your watch, well, you are no greater than scum. If there was a thing like an underground casino operating under here, then I guess I could give a hypothetical account. A smile crossed my face. Excellent. Brilliant concession, I must say. I'm glad that we can come to an agreement like this. So then, let me begin my questioning. On this hypothetical night that may or may not have occurred, do you remember the last person to approach your bar? No, well, I can't say I would have. Oh? Do all the faces blur together? No, I would remember faces. If this really was an underground casino, then earlier tonight I was occupied for most of the night. An important VIP match would hypothetically have been taking place in one of the private rooms. I would have been officiating. When my workers would be tending bar instead. Hypothetically. Objection? You claimed you weren't at the bar during the end of the night, hypothetically. However, this contradicts the testimony of the 911 call. They clearly named you as the hypothetical bartender. What do you have to say to that, hypothetically? Both just stood there for a couple of seconds. Then they shrugged their hands. I don't know what to say. Maybe they mistook me for someone else. I find it hard to believe anybody would mistake another bartender for you. Then your witness is lying. I was hypothetically officiating that private gamble. That's all I know. Is that the Duat line? Excuse me? Chief Arianne took a few steps forward. I said, is that what the Duats told you to say? Nobody has told me what to say. What exactly are you getting at? Bodies do not just disappear. Just like evidence of this being a casino was disposed of, I think so too was our dead body. I do not know how much you know, Osa. But I know, have known, that this whole little operation was a Duat run front for quite some time. I allowed it to exist because it was the least of my problems. But a murder, that is now my problem. I have no doubt that you are responsible for dumping the body that we are looking for. The only question that remains in my mind is whether you dumped the body to keep your little casino operation afloat. Arianne leaned in. Or if this whole murder was also a Duat operation. Tell me now, and I will go easy on you. Whoa. Coming on a little hard there, eh, Arianne? I looked over to Osa to see how he would respond. His face just hardened. Any progress I might have just made with him was just wiped away. Let me get this through your thick skulls. Your whole presence here is a complete goose chase. Nobody died down here. Whoever called you lied. You are wasting your time. I will be the judge of that. Oh, judge away. Tear this place up all you want, but you won't find a lick of evidence that anybody died here. You're going to end this investigation with nothing to show for it. I have nothing else to say to any of you. Keep pestering me if you want, but you won't get a worthwhile response. That ended the conversation pretty thoroughly and cleanly. Somewhat defeated, the four of us walked away from the bar. Well, that could have gone better. Indeed. You could not hope to get any useful information out of criminal scum. This outcome was inevitable. If you say so, Chief. At this point, a plainclothes officer ran over and whispered something to Seth. Well, that's sus. Seth nodded and dismissed her. Alright, I gotta dip for a bit. Huh? You really gonna bail on us like that? No. I'm going to try and help out. Apparently we got a report of some muted gunshots in the area. Right now? No, apparently this took place back around the time when we got the initial 911 call from our mystery witness. Don't ask me why we didn't get around to this until now. But, it might be related. And again, this isn't exactly a good part of town, so maybe they're unrelated. So single witness account of hearing something like bullet shots. Still, I'm gonna double check on that. Seth nodded and excused himself from the area. Aldera sighed. case is a real headache. I don't know how we're gonna put a dent in it. Just missing so much information. Indeed. Conspiracy cases are difficult. Conspiracy cases? Murders carried out and covered up by large numbers of people. It is logical to assume that the Olympo Big Shot was a target of the Duats for whatever reason. Then all the employees worked together to hide the body and remove all traces of the crime. In fact, the reason we cannot locate the witness anymore may be because he has already been handled. No! How horrible! Actually, cracking conspiracy case is near impossible. We may be at a dead end. Are you all so sure about that? Huh? I think jumping to the idea that this is a conspiracy murder might be a little hasty. Oh? You have an alternative explanation? Nothing fully formed right now, Chief. I see. Aldera sighed once again. Gosh, it's times like this I really wish Issa was still with us. He was great with cases like this. Indeed. Issa, huh? This is the second time you've mentioned him. Mind filling me in? Oh, right. You never met him, huh, Lav? Simply put, he was a previous officer on the force with us. He was like an incredible detective. Super respected. I liked him quite a bit. Him and Seth were his closest brothers. He was certainly an effective officer. One of my best. He was pretty much family to us. Would have gotten along super well with him, Lav. He was really into the tricky mysteries that are your specialty. Like there's this one murder case. This one guy that looks so guilty. He destroyed his computer right after the murder. He threw away his shoes to try and hide the fact that he had ones that matched footprints we found. He bought a one-way ticket out of the country. Arrested him, interrogated him. No matter how hard we investigated, it felt impossible to find any evidence that directly proved he has to be the culprit. Then Issa came in. Figured out that the guy we thought was the murderer was actually innocent. Instead, it was his close friend who did the murder. My suspect figured that out. Decided to start acting incredibly suspicious. That would direct our attention towards him, trying to prove he did it, and the suspect could sit back safely knowing that we'd never actually be able to put him in jail. Huh. Clever little trick. Right? Issa was great at seeing through things like that. Oh, and I haven't even told you about his biggest accomplishment. He fought an assassination plot on Governor Aisha. Uh-oh. Really? All by himself. I mean, not all by himself, but he was the main force behind it. Wow. That is truly impressive. Right? Issa was special. His intuition was great. He could figure out anything. It is truly a shame what happened to him. Yeah. Aldera looked down. For a moment, it looked like she was going to end things there. Then she kept talking. It's my fault. I should have been there. Do not say that, Miss Vasquez. I was the one who assigned those two to that case. Those two? Seth and Issa were working a pretty standard case. It was super late at night. The store had been broken into and stolen from. Those two thought they had a lead on the culprit, so they were searching an area of the city. According to Mr. Johnson, the two had split up to try and search for the culprit more effectively. All of a sudden, he heard a gunshot. He ran over to the source and saw the body of Mr. Dolus bleeding out. Further down the street, a hooded figure fled the scene. Evidently, the two's hunch that the burglar was in the area was correct. Mr. Johnson opted to stay and try and treat Mr. Dolus's injuries, but it was too little, too late. Horrible. Sorry to hear that. I still remember that night. I heard Issa right up until that incident. Wait, you heard him? How? Seth and Issa were using standard police radios to communicate their movements to each other as they swept the area. on a whim. Nothing better to do, I tuned into their channel to hear how their investigation was going. I heard Issa clear another random alley. Then silence for a couple of minutes. Turns out that Seth's already called the hospital for Issa. Wow. It's a sore subject for Seth. Pretty sure he blamed himself even more than me for how it all went down. I extend my deepest condolences for this incident. Issa sounds like an absolutely fascinating character. I have no doubt that he was a treasure that is rightfully missed. Yeah, well, that's the risk being a cop poses. Even still, I never imagined Mr. Dulles of all people dying. I always pictured him as an invincible force. Though maybe that was just projection. Projection? He was the nephew of the great Apis. Who? Probably where he got all that inherent skill from. Again, Apis, I'm not familiar. Apis was my predecessor. Previous chief of police. Yeah, Apis is a legend around here. Kind of responsible for whipping Panthea into shape when things were getting particularly bad. Yet he did a lot of pretty remarkable stuff. I think most people associate him with the whole governor bust thing. Governor bust? The governor at the time was apparently super dirty. He had connections to the Duods, caught taking in a bunch of bribes. Luckily he appointed Apis. Apis turned around and exposed all this corruption. It was really huge news at the time. Reducing Apis' influence to a single crime is to undersell him. He led the force with an iron fist. Our department was never as strong as it was under his rule. There's a good reason that such a large portrait of him resides back at Police HQ. At least that much is required to honor him. And nowadays the force really is struggling. No offense, Chief. Just mean we've got a lot less power. It is indeed difficult. We have limited funding. Additionally, I've had to lay off many officers who don't have the proper disposition to wield such power. Training new recruits is a timely proposition. All in all, it is a difficult situation. If she's actually doing that, laying off people who don't have the disposition for the job, then that's good. We need more of that. Get the people out of the police force who are prone to abusing their position. Police need to police themselves before they can earn our respect back. We should really bug Aisha for more funding, Chief. I mean, you two are pretty close, right? Not at all. What would give you that impression? Oh, no need to try and hide it, Chief. I've seen you two talking together enough times to know that you've got a pretty good relationship with her, which I think is a great thing. I'm a big Aisha fan. Why don't you ask her for more money? It'd help out a lot. Arianne sighed. You do not understand, Miss Vasquez. Difficult as it may be, it is better to have limited funding. Huh? How does that work? Let me extend this question to Laverna. You should be in favor of a police state. It doesn't sound ideal to me. Whoa, who's saying anything about police states? I'm just saying we should expand a bit. And I'm saying it is preferable to have a smaller force of higher quality than a larger force of less. You may not understand this, Miss Vasquez, but being a police officer is a great power. In many ways, you are above the law. A lot of people cannot properly wield that power. Which is, I hate the Duots. If you ask me who was more dangerous, an evil police officer or an evil Duot member, I would say the evil police officer every single time. After all, you can always throw the Duot member in prison. Maybe we are not the glorious force that Apis led, but Apis' force had a dark side. If keeping our police force properly balanced means crime gets a bit worse, that's a sacrifice that must occur. Huh. I never really thought of things like that. Well, this is not a philosophy many in my position share. Interesting little insight into Arianne's psychology. I like it. File that away for later. For now we are wasting too much time. Enough casual conversation. I was brought here for one reason and one reason alone. Right here, right now, we are going to solve this murder case. Whoa, solve it? All the evidence we're missing? We don't even have a body. How do you expect to solve it? It certainly seems unlikely. Perhaps solving it is an understatement. However, I can certainly come close enough. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Miss Vasquez is correct, Laverna. I don't know how you do your jobs. However, as police officers, we have no use for half-baked theories. Bit my tongue at that. Look, just give me a chance to do my magic. If you leave thoroughly unimpressed, then no harm has been done. However, if I can solve the murder that never happened, then you will truly be able to praise my name in full force. Well, when you put it like that, now I got to hear what you're thinking. Give me your best shot. That is not your call to make. Oh, right. You would do well to remember that. Now, Laverna, attempt your explanation. Seriously? Matter of principle. Chain of command. Could you really say to loosen up, Chief? Perhaps. So, can I go now? Please. Excellent. I closed my eyes and put one finger to my forehead. Slowly, I rubbed my temple. I tapped it twice. Thought you already had an explanation. I do. Then why are you stalling? You're reminding me of Miss Vasquez. Not a compliment. I'm right here, Chief. Correct. The pause was for dramatic effect. But seeing as I'm dealing with a couple of artless cretins, it's sort of ruined now. Cretins? I appreciate the pause, Lav. The way I see it, this crime is difficult to prosecute. A vague description of the victim. A vague description of the killer. No idea who the witness is. No physical evidence to find. We are aware. This is the issue with this investigation. Really, there are only two characters in this story we can subject to scrutiny. We've already completed this step with one of the suspects. So then why not the other? I don't follow? The witness. I wish to call into question his authenticity. Why would the witness be lying? He was the one who even brought this murder to our attention? A classic blunder, Baldera. Never skipped a motive. Breaks the rules of mysteries. Who done it? How done it? Why done it? This is the order of the questions that must be tackled in. I question how you intend to question the witness when we have no way of contacting him at present. There's no need for additional questions. We already have his testimony. The account itself. Within it, I spotted 3 critical contradictions. And these contradictions shall unravel this whole event. Firstly, the case of the impossible stab wound. I began to walk over to the supposed crime scene. It was at this very spot that the crime was seen was spotted by our witness, if that even is his real occupation. Witness? I would assume not. Our would-be Olimpo victim met a grisly end in this room. Well, Dara, remind us, what was the supposed cause of death? He was stabbed repeatedly in the chest? Stabbed. Repeatedly. In the chest. I heard. Where exactly was our so-called witness when he saw the scene of the crime? Standing in this doorway, if I recall correctly. And where was the victim? There's no need to draw things out this long, Laverna. I understand what you are hinting at. The victim was lying, dead in his chair. You would not be able to see the stab wounds from the doorway. However, that only holds up if you assume he was playing at the closest chair. If he died at the farthest chair, this reasoning fails to hold water. Oh goodness, I simply didn't think of that. there was some possible way to figure out which of the seats our victim was supposed to be sitting at. Laverna, do not find humor in the sarcasm. Oh, right. Sorry. The witness mentioned that the victim hid his cards as the witness passed by. The witness was passing by the victim, and they must have been at the closest chair. Ergo, the witness claims to see something they simply couldn't have. Okay, but just because you couldn't see the stab wounds immediately from the doorway doesn't mean the witness couldn't have seen them at all. You just have to take a step or two inside, then you get a decent side angle. The witness himself mentions how his legs froze up after seeing the sight, and that he fled right away. We cannot take a witness's impromptu statement word for word. Having just witnessed a murder, it's reasonable to assume that he was too shaken up to be 100% accurate. Fair enough. If this was my only point, I'd be inclined to agree with you. A minor inconsistency like this isn't enough to draw any hard conclusions. Then get to your next points. Certainly. So then we have the case of the impossibly traveling knife. This one is a bit more straightforward. According to the witness, his killer suspect left with a decorative knife that's hung at Osa's bar. Oh, I get what you're getting at. How would this random person get a hold of that knife? And it's like hung up on the dang bar. It's pretty impossible to steal something like that. That assumes it was, in fact, stolen. Our current understanding of this case includes the heavy possibility that Osa helped dispose of the body. In which case, the knife could have been given to the killer directly, and Osa could have been an active accomplice. Whoa, I just thought Osa was hiding things to try and keep us from prosecuting him on the whole casino angle. Whatever the truth, I actually care not about the specifics of how the knife was obtained. I am instead talking about the specifics of when the knife was obtained. Again, let me recount the sequence of events. The witness goes to the bar where Osa is. He sees the decorative knife. He then directly heads back to the private room for the gamble. He finds the victim stabbed to death. Dazed, he walks away and happens to spot a suspicious individual holding the decorative knife with blood on it. The way the story was initially told to us, it is easy to miss a crucial detail. However, looking at it objectively, by the witness's own account, the murder must have taken place when he was at the bar, when he still saw the decorative knife there. So the suspect took the decorative knife when the witness was discovering the victim, and the true killer is someone else entirely with a completely different murder weapon. But I thought the witness said that they saw blood flecks in the knife. It was dark. They were shaken up. They could be mistaken. Or they could have mistaken the knife that the suspect was holding for the decorative knife, when in reality they were two completely separate knives. I shall grant that this is suspicious, but no points yet brought up conclusively contradict the witness. Chief, you present the arguments that the witness undoubtedly would use himself to try and weasel his way out of this situation. For that I thank you. Now let us move to my last point. The case of the impossible call. witness undoubtedly would use himself to try and music his way out of this situation. When did she do that? I fail to see how making a police call should be impossible. It's a sensational title, Chief. For a final time, think back to the testimony. After following the suspect up to the front restaurant, the receptionist said that they didn't see anybody leave. They then sit down at a nearby table and call the police. Put yourself in the place of this witness. In your eyes, you definitely saw this murder suspect walk up the stairs right before you came up. However, the receptionist has said that they haven't left the store. What would you be thinking? Two possibilities. If the murder suspect didn't in fact leave, but instead circled back and hid in the front store. With such little space, they'd probably be hiding in the restrooms right next to the tables. Or, alternatively, the receptionist just lied about not seeing the suspect leave, and is in on the murder attempt. In either situation, what sense does it make to sit down at one of the tables and, quite audibly, call the police and explain the situation to them? You just saw someone murdered. You might be the only direct witness towards the murder. Would you casually sit down next to either the real murderer's hiding place, or within earshot of the murderer's accomplice? Hell, even throwing away the murder aspect, would you report the underground casino in earshot of the receptionist? Would the receptionist really let this snitch leave? This all seems awfully implausible. Once again, Laverna, I would defer to the witness's panicked state of mind. By all accounts, calling the police in the restaurant seemed like a poor decision. However, people react to stress in different ways. It is plausible that they did not properly consider the situation. And again, if it was just this, then I'd say sure. Any of the points I've made on their own don't prove anything. I found not one, not two, but three extremely odd points just in the witness's brief testimony. Doesn't that seem too convenient? It does. So then, you said you would move on to motive after explaining yourself. What do you propose are the reason for these contradictions? By how you have been talking, you seem to think that the witness is lying about their account of the murder. Why? Hey, hi, how are you doing? You're looking great. Just popping in to give you a sort of supplementary tutorial to the earlier one I did about deduction scenes. Sometimes you want to say the opposite of a statement to make your deduction work. And for fear the inverser is here. You might see a purple exclamation point on the left side of the screen when statements are around. That's the inverser. Click it to toggle it on and off. Submit a statement with the inverser on. You make your deduction. That statement will say the opposite of what it once said. Convenient, right? Not really, it makes solving these far harder. But hey, keep your chin up. I believe in you. Oh boy. Here we go. So here's our subjects. Caller is telling the truth. The caller is lying. Okay, so there's the inverse of the color is... Oh, shit. Forgetting how these buttons work. I feel like we end with, therefore, the caller is lying. So... Okay, I have to remember our order of operations here. Therefore, the caller is not telling the truth, or Seth misremembered something. The caller could not see the cause of death, therefore, the caller is not telling the truth, or Seth misremembered something. Well, that was easy. It's simple. First try, every try. I called this the murder that never happened for a reason. It's always tempting to jump to conspiracy. Any evidence against your preconceived conclusion is just a product of that conspiracy. When we didn't find a body, a weapon, any evidence of a murder in the casino, we chalked it up to Duat conspiracy. When Osa said he wasn't at the bar, we deemed him a liar. When the witness tripped over their story, we gave him the benefit of the doubt because he's all we had. If none of the evidence of a murder is adding up, why are we assuming a murder even happened? So, wait, you're saying this whole thing? It's just a crank call? Seriously? It explains why the witness did not wish to be identified. Still, for all this to be just a prank... I didn't say it was a prank. After all this calling us to raid the casino, did it not? Were it a lesser crime, we wouldn't have arrived with such urgency and disregard for the restaurant owner's rights. This casino is really run by the Duats. I think there'd be plenty of people who would have motive to shut down this operation. So in the end, you equate all this to a waste of time. Well, you got to see my deductions in action. That may have been the biggest waste of time of all. Yeah, we really didn't deduce much that we didn't already lay out. So you're right, it was kind of a waste of time. Had you not intervened, and no evidence was found, we would just end up in the same place as we are now. And okay, sure, but now you can end your investigation sooner, with a more certain note, right? I suppose. Good job, then. Arianne did not look particularly impressed. However, I had done my job. Solved the case. She began to disperse the police, with the investigation done. Like everyone would be leaving Nohoi's nest soon enough. But while Arianne might have been done with me, I wasn't quite done with her. I approached her. Hey, could we talk for a little bit? In private, I mean. Sure. Give me a moment to finish things up here, and we can have a personal conversation. Great, thanks. Walked over to the corner of the casino. Then I stood around and waited for a time as Arianne finished things up. Once she was free, she walked over to me. Laverna? Perhaps I did not come off as authentic as I should have earlier. Let me extend my earnest thanks for your help today. After all, I was the one who called you over this late at night. It was some impressive deduction. Thanks, Chief. Really, I was just trying to be helpful. You were. I must ask, is there any reason you have no desire to join the police force? Admittedly, I was hesitant about working with you for a time. Despite your eccentricities, I think you would be a valuable asset to my team. You would need to go through the proper procedures, of course, but if you wish to become an officer, I have no doubt you would be able to. I am humbled, ma'am. Really, that means a lot for you to say to me. But if it's okay with you, I think I'd prefer to be a private investigator for now. Why? I appreciate the freedom that being an independent contractor brings me. Being your own boss comes with many risks, sure, but it has its own sort of security. More importantly, even though we can agree that my skills are useful, I think we'd also agree that I somewhat doubt I'd mesh that well with being an official officer. As such, our current arrangement suits me just fine. A sensible answer. There was a hint of suspicion in those words. Arianne didn't fully trust my response. I have looked into you, Laverna Smith. Oh? How flattering. Considering how much time we worked together, I would think that only customary. At any rate, you seemingly have an impressive resume. My website certainly boasts as much. Indeed. Your rating is certainly impressive. Almost 5 stars across the board. Glowing reviews. What can I say? When I promise satisfaction, I am tasked with delivering. You'd say a lot about me, but I am, to put it lightly, determined. I can see. You have been in Panthea for longer than I expected. I have reviews dating all the way back to almost 2 years ago. I'm surprised I haven't heard about you until quite recently. That right? But to be fair, I had handled pretty low-rate cases for a long time. Got to build up trust, you know? It's surprising that the caper of the lost cat didn't come to your attention. Sure enough. Still, I tried to familiarize myself with the private investigators of this city, so learning that I was unaware of you for so long was a minor hit to my pride. Oh, there's no need for that. I also noticed that you haven't been taking many requests as of late. Well, that's because I've been a lot busier lately. After all, I'm now being called in to work cases with you guys. I see. That makes sense. Oh, so I had some stuff I wanted to talk to you about? Right. Please proceed. Sure. So I've been conducting an investigation of Maximilian Collins. You are still looking into that? Of course. It's an unsolved mystery. There's nothing I hate more than that. True. Guess I simply question why you aren't so laser-focused on that murder, as opposed to any other cock-robin murder. Max Collins was the second body at Aisha's fundraiser. The one that Devin didn't kill, but Aisha knows about. I just feel like there's more weird parts about that murder. I mean, forensics weren't even able to confirm if the body was killed at the crime scene, or if it was moved there post-mortem. How is a report like that inconclusive? The cause of death was mostly blunt force trauma. Bleeding was minimal, so determining if there was an appropriate amount of blood at the scene was a less reliable method. Sure. Anyways, I decided to try and check up on the victim's movements and behavior before the murder. I felt like it could be a good place to start. So you are operating under the assumption that there was a motive to this kill. There usually is. At present, the cock-robin murders are designated as a serial killing case. Serial killers do not require motives. Maybe. Just hear me out for a bit. Maximilian Collins was in a pretty poor financial state. He'd been estranged from his parents and his sister for some time. He had numerous debts, which were starting to compile interest. Apparently, a few days before his death, he visited a storage locker site that housed a number of Veronica Collins' personal belongings that had yet to be distributed. Are you suggesting that he broke into that storage locker? I'm saying it seems like it could be possible. Veronica Collins was a prominent businesswoman in her own right, and was close friends with Odin Daesma. Who knows what sort of secrets she might have left behind? Who knows what someone down his luck like Maximilian might do to try and raise cash if he was in debt? He was found dead outside of a gala of influential people. You see the dots? The ones you are attempting to connect. Sure. But this is pure supposition. Here's the kicker. Something I noticed way back when we first found the crime scene. Maximilian Collins' car was not present at the scene of the crime. And trust me when I say that it is a long walk from the start of the forest to the gala's location. So either he decided to walk that long trek to get to the gala, which is very possible. Walk all that way to a gala he wasn't invited to. Or he got to the location in a car that wasn't his. I see your point. However, the fact remains the false murder weapon was a bell. That is in line with the cock-robin killings. Are you saying that someone at the gala was knowledgeable about the cock-robin killings and hoped to use it to their advantage? Or are you saying someone there is responsible? I'm not sure. I'm just raising possibilities. Speaking of which, I have a request for you, Chief. Oh. Go ahead. Would it be possible to get a list of the cock-robin killings? It would be kept fully confidential, of course. You could sign something to that effect if you wanted. That could probably be arranged. Awesome! Specifically, would you mind including the officers first present at the scene of each of the murders? Oh. I see. You see? You do not become the chief of police, Laverna, by being an idiot. The cock-robin killings are identified by items placed on the victim's person post-mortem. You suspect that this may be the doing of a police officer, planting the evidence when they arrive. I mean no disrespect, Chief. Just, would square with the fact that you caught the killer of one of the victims, and they didn't seem to know anything about the Cock Robin killings. The alleged killer. You were unable to convict him. At any rate, you are not the first to suggest this line of inquiry. Seth proposed a similar theory. Unfortunately, it is incorrect. There is no common denominator. No single officer first present at all the scenes. Ah, that's a shame. All the same, I'd like a copy of that list if you would. Fine. Is that all? Actually, not quite. I have another question specifically about you, Chief Arianne. Is that so? Took a breath and steeled myself. To play this one a bit more tactfully than usual. Just as you looked into me, I looked into you some. Wanted to know who I was working for, of course. And I'm sorry for bringing up this tough topic, but I came across the news about your brother, Taka. I'm so sorry for your loss. I appreciate the sentiment, but it has been years. I am fine. Still, it can be rough. I actually saw a speech you gave where you referenced your brother's death. You talked about how it was a powerful motivator to do your job. Picture that deaths like his never happen again. Right. I have to assume, given context, that this means he was killed as the result of some sort of criminal activity. Tread lightly. Yeah, no kidding. I didn't want to poke the bear on this. But I was just too curious of a person. Too curious for my own good. I was just wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about that incident. There is nothing to tell. It was an unintended casualty caused by some standard gang activity. That case was standard and has long since been closed. Got it. When I was looking into him some, I ran into a fun little fact that I was super surprised I hadn't heard about until now. Your brother used to be Governor Aisha's husband. Isn't that a weird little situation, huh? Uh-oh. Then, Arianne did perhaps the one thing that was completely unexpected. She let out a small little laugh. Then she recomposed herself. Wow. I actually admire this. I think any of my men would be this bold, Laverna. I didn't know how to respond. You're direct, I'll give you that. Not more than you are misguided. Misguided? Whatever you are imagining, I can assure you, you are completely off the mark. I'm not going to dwell on this. It is a bad standard to punish curiosity and speculation. Leave it there, Laverna. My brother, and his relationship with Aisha, whether those things are remotely relevant. Bring it up again. I'm afraid I will not be able to brush things away with a good-hearted laugh. And forcibly bringing this conversation to an end, Chief of Police Arianne Libera turned around and walked away from me. I was still missing a lot of pieces in the grand picture that was Panthea. I couldn't even tell who truly had ill intent. But based on everything I knew, there was one thing I was confident on. Taka, its death. The connection he represented between Aisha and Arianne was not, in fact, irrelevant. One way or another, I'd get to the truth of this. There's also Officer Issa and Seth, and given that we know Seth is in the pocket of the Duats, perhaps Seth killed Officer Issa. I'd get to the truth of it all. Question of the philosophical kind. Van Dyne's 7th. That's right, fucker, I'm bringing it back. Does it apply in this case? To restate, the rule says don't step to the plate if you're working with something less than a murder. I was supposed to say reported murder, but if we take Laverna's word for it, it never really happened. Does it break the rule, or not? On the face of it, seems pretty obvious, right? No murder. Breaks the rules. Done deal. Now, if I could write everything off that quickly. View it metaphysically. Does not the assumption that there is a murder count as a form of murder in and of itself? I swear I'm not high. Let me put it in a less pretentious way. That rule was created not because there literally needs to be a murder in the text, but because as humans we need a supposed death to get invested. We have trouble getting invested in crimes less than murder. Say nothing about fictional crimes. We'll table the discussion of fictional crimes for later. That's what we have in this situation. We have a fictional crime. From your perspective and our perspective, sitting outside of this computer screen watching this. So if the supposed murder successfully rejects the illusion of a killing, what difference is it from any other killing? Again, the actual damage of the crime can't be the metric we're measuring here. After all, it's an incorrect assumption to believe that the murder is the crime that has the biggest ripple effect. A high-profile robbery of some antique painting will have far greater repercussions than the double homicide of some plain old Dick and Jane. Believe otherwise and you're just naive. Not to mention espionage. No, save for certain people, murders don't really matter that much. Van 7th only matters because of the illusion it creates in the mind of the reader. At least that's my assertion. What say you? Does this break said rule? I'm gonna go with my opinion of this. I don't know what this choice means. Because I see your point. Murder. The illusion of a murder is still a crime to be solved. The solution and in my personal opinion, it is an interesting twist on the murder mystery, proving that a murder actually happened when there seems to be no evidence of the murder actually happening. But if you develop this chapter into a full-fledged murder mystery of some sort, I'd be down for it. Prove it a murder mystery with circumstantial evidence where the solution to it was the fact that there was never actually a murder. See your point, exactly. Per usual, I speak the complete and total truth. Van 7th is intact. Murder isn't really that big a deal. But looks like we have 2 poll questions today. Yeah, you're fun. I like spending time with you. Anyway, I suppose it doesn't really matter too much. If we're talking about expectations, you're usually supposed to scale up the stakes, not decrease them. Insider tip, that's why third-rate mysteries will have a killer who kills like 3 people, and plans to kill 1 more person before they get caught. See if the detective catches them just before they kill their last victim, saved a life, and thus justified their presence. I suppose bringing a culprit to justice is also worthwhile enough justification for some, occasionally. Her point about murders that we can take exception to is the fact that the murder of a normal Tom, Dick, or Harry can pale in significance to espionage or high-profile theft when it comes to impact on the impact of the crime. But we're talking about fictional crimes, not real crimes, so I will agree with you, easy. Real world, real people dying. That's far more significant than any sort of monetary theft. suppose bringing a culprit to justice is a worthwhile enough justification for some occasionally. That's a little more flimsy, especially when the killer is kind of justified. In my opinion, for a detective to actually be worthwhile, the situation must be notably made better by them finding the truth. That's why detectives that catch serious killers before they can finish their plans are worthwhile, if hackneyed. As for Laverna, well, I suppose that remains to be seen. Very interesting. We got a silver. Can unlock locks 3. I think those are the only locks we have right now. Laverna's Chapter 4 has a silver lock on it. Locks Chapter 3, which will be next video, has a bronze lock on it. Have that lock information. So on that note, until next time, until then, thanks for watching.